The courtroom fell silent. Not the peace of justice, but the weight of injustice. Judge Pierce sentenced 38-year-old pregnant veteran Marcella Johnson to life without parole. Her mother collapsed, sobbing. No one helped her. The judge never even looked at Marcella's swollen belly. Before the orange jumpsuit, before the handcuffs, Marcella Johnson was just a quiet woman with a sketchbook and dreams for her unborn child. At 38, she lived with her aging mother Lane in a modest two-bedroom apartment on West Side Drive. The walls displayed her artwork alongside military commendations. 15 years of honorable service in the Marine Corps. Marcella dressed simply. Faded jeans, plain t-shirts, comfortable shoes. Her face, whether from desert deployments, carried quiet dignity rather than conventional beauty. No makeup, no pretense. Despite the lines around her eyes, there was warmth there, especially when she smiled at neighborhood children. 5 months pregnant. Marcella had finally found peace after 3 tours in Afghanistan and Iraq. Her military pension wasn't much, but it covered necessities. She transformed her service experience into community work, teaching art to at-risk youth at the Veterans Community Center. Art saved me after combat, she'd tell her students, her hand unconsciously resting on her growing belly. It can save you too. Her mother Elaine, now 68, had raised Marcella alone, instilling values that led her to military service. Stand tall, stay quiet when necessary, but never let injustice pass unchallenged, Elaine would say. Each evening, Marcella would sketch her mother reading or knitting baby clothes. These weren't just drawings. They were testimonies of survival, love, and hope for her child's future. She was building a portfolio for the Community Art Initiative, hoping to expand programs for veterans' children. Little did she know her world would shatter in minutes. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon. Marcella had just finished teaching an art class for veterans' children. The pregnant veteran moved slowly but purposefully, one hand resting on her 5-month belly as she entered Martinez Market. She needed prenatal vitamins and something for her mother's dinner. "How's the little Marine today?" Mr. Martinez asked, nodding at her stomach. Marcella smiled, her weathered face softening. Active duty. Kicks like they're training for special forces. She paid for vitamins, bread, and her mother's favorite, fresh strawberries. $12.45. The receipt went into her plain canvas bag beside her sketchbook filled with student portraits. Stepping outside, Marcella adjusted her simple gray cardigan over her t-shirt. No designer clothes, just a practical wardrobe of a woman who'd spent years in uniform. Her military ID and veteran's card were tucked in her wallet. The police cruisers appeared suddenly. No sirens, just presence. 2 officers approached, hands on holsters. On the ground. Now, one shouted. Marcella froze, military training kicking in. Assess. Don't escalate. "Officer, I'm pregnant," she began, voice controlled. I said down. The officer's hand pushed her shoulder. Marcella protected her belly as she knelt slowly. Her bag dropped. Vitamins rolled across the sidewalk. Strawberries burst, red juice seeping like blood. Her sketchbook fell open, pages fluttering. Black female, gray top, matches robber description. One officer said into his radio. They cuffed her wrist behind her back, painful against her pregnant frame. Her wallet fell open, military ID and veteran's card visible. Neither officer noticed. I was teaching at the Veterans Center. You can verify. Save it. The officer cut her off. As they led her to the cruiser, Marcella saw her sketchbook on the ground, pages stained red from crushed strawberries. A drawing of her mother holding baby clothes, now torn. Military discipline kept her silent. Her mother's voice echoed, "Stay calm, stay alive." But inside, something broke. Marcella met her public defender 8 minutes before her hearing. Mr. Hayes barely looked at her pregnant form, more interested in his coffee than her case. "Any medical issues?" he asked mechanically. "I'm 5 months pregnant," Marcella answered. "And I have service-connected PTSD that—" "Pregnancy isn't a legal defense," Hayes interrupted, checking his phone. "We'll request medical attention, if needed." The courtroom was sparse. No jury, Just court staff and Judge Roland Pierce, a man whose cold efficiency had earned him the nickname One Hearing Pierce. His gaze passed over Marcella's pregnant belly without acknowledgement. Docket number 4872B. State versus Johnson. The prosecutor, a young woman in a sharp suit, recited charges with practiced detachment. Armed robbery at Eastside Electronics, weapon involvement, potential flight risk. Marcella's shoulders stiffened, military posture even in orange scrubs. Your Honor, I was teaching R at the Veterans Center during the alleged robbery. The sign-in sheet. Defendant speak through counsel. Judge Pierce snapped without looking at her. Hayes finally stirred. My client maintains her innocence. She's a decorated Marine veteran with no criminal record, currently pregnant. The court is aware of the defendant's condition. Pierce dismissed. Evidence. The prosecutor presented grainy security footage showing a figure in gray and a partial fingerprint allegedly matching Marcella's from a glove found in her bag. An artist glove, powder stained from charcoal. At the clerk station, Elena Vargas typed everything, expression neutral. But she noticed something odd, different timestamps on the evidence files. Yesterday's report had mentioned a security camera malfunction and conflicting time frame. Today those notes were gone. Bail, Your Honor? Hayes asked half-heartedly. Denied. Defendant remanded to custody pending trial. The gavel fell. As they led Marcella away, she looked back at her mother, whose lips moved in silent prayer. Elena Vargas watched, fingers hesitating over her keyboard. 32 days into her detention, Marcella sat on her narrow bunk, one hand absently sketching, the other resting on her growing belly. County women's attention wasn't equipped for pregnant inmates. Her prenatal vitamins required daily paperwork. The thin mattress offered no support for her changing body. Her cellmate, Janine, watched Marcella draw. That your mama? She asked, pointing to the sketch of Elaine. Yes. She raised me alone after my father left. Now she's alone again. Marcella had developed a routine. Exercise within her pregnancy limitations, read donated books, and draw. Always draw. First her mother, then her cellmates, then the guards. Not their uniforms, but their humanity. Tired eyes, wedding rings, small gestures of kindness. The prison doctor, overworked and apathetic, checked her pregnancy briefly once a week. Everything seems normal, he'd say without making eye contact. The other women gathered around Marcella gradually. Desiree, serving time for check fraud, brought extra fruit from the cafeteria. Baby needs vitamins, she'd whisper. Tamika, the library trustee, snuck in art supplies. My cousin was a Marine too, she explained. Y'all take care of each other. But night was hardest. Marcella would lie awake, feeling her baby move, wondering if this concrete box would be all they'd ever know together. One evening during phone time, a guard approached. Johnson, you got 5 minutes. Marcella hadn't called anyone, couldn't bear her mother's weeping, couldn't afford a lawyer. But there was one number she remembered, memorized during a joint military justice department operation years ago. Her fingers hesitated over the keypad. She hadn't spoken to him in 8 years, not since they'd served together in Helmand Province. The phone rang in Washington, D.C. Luther Pryor, U.S. Attorney General, was addressing a conference on criminal justice reform when a secure phone vibrated. Unknown number. He normally wouldn't answer, but something, intuition perhaps, made him excuse himself. This is Luther Pryor. Silence, and Luther, it's Marcella Johnson, Marine Corps, Helmand Province, 2015. His grip tightened. Staff Sergeant Johnson? I need help. Her voice cracked. I'm pregnant, facing life for something I didn't do. The line between them filled with unspoken history. Battlefield decisions, lives saved, promises made. Where are you? Luther asked, voice dropping to a whisper. County detention. They say I robbed a store. I was teaching art to veterans' kids. Another pause. I'm coming. Luther put down the phone, his prepared speech on justice reform suddenly hollow in his hands. Luther Pryor didn't sleep that night. The Attorney General of the United States sat in his darkened office, tie loosened, blinds drawn. Staring at a computer screen, Marcella Johnson, staff sergeant, decorated twice for valor, credited with saving his life during an ambush outside Kandahar. Now pregnant and imprisoned for a crime that smelled wrong from every angle. He typed, Johnson, Marcella, case 4872B. The files loaded slowly, each revealing more disturbing patterns. The security footage timestamp had been altered. Shadows contradicted the listed time. The fingerprint report, initially marked inconclusive, had mysteriously become probable match in the final version. The Veteran Center sign-in sheet confirming Marcella's alibi was missing entirely. Luther scrubbed his face with his hands. He should recuse himself. Their military connection created a clear conflict of interest. But something darker was happening here, something systematic. He pulled Judge Roland Pierce's record next. A disturbing pattern emerged. 89% conviction rate for black defendants versus 43% for white defendants with similar charges. Average trial length for black defendants, 2.4 days. White defendants, 5.7 days. Dawn found Luther surrounded by printouts, connecting lines drawn between cases, judges, and detention centers. This wasn't just about Marcella. She was one thread in a tapestry of injustice. But pulling that thread might unravel his career, his reform agenda, everything he'd built. At 7 a.m., he made 4 calls. Not to his staff, not to the press, but to young attorneys he trusted. Maya Chun, cybersecurity specialist. Darius Washington, criminal procedure expert. Rosa Gutierrez, civil rights attorney. And James Wilson, forensic evidence analyst. They gathered in a secure conference room. Phones locked outside. What you're about to see stays here. Luther began distributing flash drives. This isn't just about one case. It's about a system that's failing the people it's meant to protect. He displayed Marcella's file photo. Orange jumpsuit, pregnant. Face composed despite everything. She saved my life in Afghanistan. Now I need to save hers and maybe fix something broken in our justice system. The team exchanged glances. This wasn't policy anymore. This was personal. Luther's voice hardened. Start digging. No stone unturned. No one is untouchable. Elena Vargas had worked in Judge Pierce's courtroom for 7 years. Keep your head down. Do your job. Don't ask questions. That was how you survived. Until now, the email to Luther Pryor's secure address contained no signature. Evidence manipulation in Johnson case. Multiple cases before. Pattern of targeting black defendants. Will provide proof. 2 days later. Elena sat in a quiet coffee shop miles from the courthouse, hands wrapped around a cold cup. She dressed plainly, hair tucked under a cap. Her brother's citizenship papers were locked in a safe deposit box after someone had broken in and rifled through them last week. The message was clear. When Maya Chun and James Wilson entered, Elena recognized them immediately from news photos. They sat across from her, saying nothing at first. Elena slid a flash drive across the table. Original timestamps, evidence reports, internal communications. Judge Pierce specifically requested Johnson's case, broke assignment protocols to get it. Why? Maya asked. Elena's voice dropped. His brother-in-law is the warden at county. They have arrangements. More inmates mean more funding. Why risk your job for this? James questioned. Elena unfolded a sketch, her, typing at her desk, captured with simple dignity. Marcella had drawn it during her hearing. She saw me, Elena whispered. In 15 years, no one ever really saw me. And now they're erasing her, a veteran, pregnant, alone. Her voice strengthened. I have a daughter. Someday she could be Marcella. The system works because we stay silent. I'm done being silent. Maya placed her hand over Elena's. You're not alone anymore. Outside, cameras captured nothing. Just 3 people talking over coffee. The art class began with one pencil and scraps of paper. Marcella's hands, accustomed to field stripping rifles, now taught fellow inmates to hold graphite properly. Draw what you miss most, she instructed, military directness softened by her gentle smile. They gathered in the rec room. Janine, who hadn't seen her children in 3 years, Teresa, whose garden was withering without her; Desiree, who dreamed of finishing nursing school. Marcella guided them, her pregnant belly now visibly larger as her 6th month progressed. The prison counselor, Ms. Winters, noticed a change. Women previously withdrawn were engaging, talking, processing trauma through art. She provided more supplies, bent rules for additional class time. "This is therapeutic," she justified to skeptical guards. Marcella drew portraits of each woman, capturing not their crimes but their humanity. Teresa's gardener's hands, Janine's mother's worried eyes. When Ms. Winters exhibited the artwork in the visitors' area, something unexpected happened. Families began requesting copies. A volunteer chaplain photographed several pieces. One appeared on her church's social media page with a caption, "From inside, still human, still creating." The hashtag Inside Voices spread. First local arts groups, then veteran organizations, then wider. Marcella's military service added emotional weight. A pregnant veteran behind bars, creating beauty. The contradiction resonated. From her cell, Marcella knew nothing of this. She only knew that for an hour each day, women forgotten by the world remembered themselves. The Senate Judiciary Committee hearing wasn't on the official schedule. Luther Pryor had requested it privately. Patterns of misconduct in federal case processing. Cameras were unexpectedly allowed. Luther stood at the podium, not as a politician, but as a Marine who'd once carried his wounded comrade through gunfire. "This isn't about one case," he began, voice steady. "It's about thousands." Screens behind him displayed statistics, case numbers, patterns of judicial misconduct. Then, the images changed. Marcella's artwork. Women's faces, drawn with dignity. Guards captured in moments of humanity. And finally, Marcella's self-portrait. One hand on her pregnant belly, the other holding a Marine Corps emblem. Outside, protesters gathered. Veterans in formation. Art students with reproductions of hashtag Inside Voices portraits. Signs reading "Justice for Marcella" and "Pregnant and Patriotic and Prosecuted." Media coverage exploded. Attorney General exposes judicial misconduct. Pregnant Marine's case reveals systemic bias. Art behind bars sparks national movement. Representative Alicia Coleman, a former military police officer, stood before cameras. "We ask these women to defend our freedoms abroad, then deny them basic justice at home. No more." The narrative had transformed. No longer about one pregnant veteran, but about a system that had failed thousands. And through it all, Marcella's artwork spoke what words couldn't. Humanity persisting despite everything designed to erase it. The federal appeals courtroom differed dramatically from Judge Pierce's domain. Sunlight streamed through tall windows. Judge Carmen Ramirez adjusted her glasses, reviewing the case with careful attention. The court will now hear arguments in Johnson versus State. This time, Marcella wasn't alone. Behind her sat her mother, Luther, and Elena Vargas. Her pregnancy now in its 7th month, visible even beneath the loose civilian clothes she'd been allowed to wear. The evidence was presented methodically. Altered timestamps, manipulated reports, violated protocols. Elena testified about document removals and case reassignments. Judge Ramirez addressed Marcella directly. "Before I rule, do you wish to speak?" Marcella stood, one hand supporting her belly. "I serve my country believing in justice. If my experience helps fix what's broken, then some good has come from this." The verdict came swiftly. Based on substantial evidence of misconduct, this court vacates all charges. "Ms. Johnson, you are free to go." That night, Marcella sat on her own bed, her mother sleeping nearby. She placed a blank sheet on her easel. A new beginning. If Marcella's story moved you, please respect her journey with a comment. Share with someone who needs to understand what justice really means. Subscribe for more stories of those fighting systems meant to silence them. One story, one voice, one change at a time.